Hey guys, we're back. Thanks for all the follows and likes and comments. Please keep them coming. I do appreciate it. As promised, here is my 1969 Moog IIIP. P obviously is for portable. This started out as a 2P, and then I was lucky enough to get a cabinet from Dean. It was an empty cabinet, and then I filled it with modules I had. So in cabinet 1, you have a fixed filter bank. Besides that is the 905 spring reverb, which we have talked about that before. Then we have the two 902s. Then we have a bank of 901 oscillators. So we have a 901A. A is the driver, and then these are the actual oscillators themselves. So think of this as a mini Moog. So when you hit one note on your mini Moog, it will trigger 3 oscillators. So you input your CV here, and then these are the outputs of the individual VCOs. So this is the 901A, and this is the 901B. So in this cabinet, I have 3 901As, and I have 5 901Bs. So in total, I could do 3-note polyphony. Then in the bottom, you have 2 half-height mixers. These are 4-channel mixers with individual gain control on the 4 inputs, a master gain volume on the out. You have your outputs here. You have inverted. So all of these cabinets are joined together with umbilical cords. I will say that, all powered off of cabinet number 3. So these are not individually powered cabinets. I should mention again, this is the 907 fixed filter bank. Now they did make a 914, which would be an extra row of filters. And then they also made a 907A, which was the vertical version, which is, I believe that was 3 spaces. This takes up 4 spaces, the 907. All right, then we have the infamous Moog filters. So we have the high pass, coupler, and low pass. The high pass being the 904B. The 904A is the low pass. And then the 904C is your coupler. The coupler basically is joining these 2 modules together so you can get band pass and band reject. Okay, then we have an envelope follower, which is the 912. Then below, I have 2 individual 901s. Okay, so these are standalone. So this is made up of a 901A and a 901B in one module. These I got from Gert, who owned Moon Modular. Again, this is a 1968. This is a 1969. And after that, then we have the noise source. That's the 903A. And then we have the filter and attenuators here. Then again, we have another mixer, as mentioned in cab number 1. Unfortunately, I don't have another mixer here. Again, if you have a half-height mixer, an RA Moog one, please let me know. I'm desperately looking for one, but hey, I can't complain. So all I do right now for the mixer, I just use both outs, and I use one mixer for both. These mixers I also use as attenuators to add or bring in modulation sources going into filters, etc. So the final cabinet. So this is a stock arrangement here. You'll see that on a 3C, a 3P, System 55. All have this complementary bank, we'll call it, which is made up of 8 modules. So you have 3 902s, the trigger and envelope voltages. Okay, this just sends a CV and joins certain envelopes to the 902s. Then you have a 911, the 911A trig delay, and then 2 more 911 envelopes. So in total in this system, I have 5 VCAs, 3 envelopes. Okay, then you have the 984, which is the 4-channel mixer, which has EQ, so it gives you bass and treble, and then a master output here. Then I have a rare, I'm aware of one more of these, which is the Metronome, which is the 970. This is literally an RA Moog mic pre. That does have a stamp on the back. Okay, and this panel here, this again is your control voltages. Originally, my cabinet, the filters were sitting here. So this panel here was to control the filters, the CV going to the filters. I've added this, which is the standalone version of this. Here you had a strip down of the trigger and envelopes. This was just a strip down. At that time, I had 2 envelopes and I had 2 VCAs. This is your pitches, and these are your triggers. So these are called S triggers. The S trigger, you've seen it's a funky cable, and that goes to these inputs here. This is your power switch. Power switch, I just love the vintage RA Moog, the way that stuff looks. I love the light. These are your fuses. That's the Wicked logo. The P cabinet was introduced in 1969. They made the P cabinet from 1969 to 73. You guys have also seen individual, so they made a Model 10 which was RA based. They made a Model 12, which is when you started seeing the 921s. We prefer the 901 sound over the 921, which is much more refined. And they also made the Model 15, which we all have seen those being reissued by Moog in the last, I think they did it the last 5 years, maybe 10 years. So yes, let's start off with the oscillators and we can work our way through the modules. I will be using some EQ. That's the caveat. There is some reverb we can use, but the reverb will be coming from the cabinet. So when I say no EQ and that, nothing external today. And you guys know the drill by now. So again, I want you to hear what the actual synth sounds like. So let's dig in. Let's just go through the waveform. So I'm just going to pick up a 901B here. And this has 4 waves: sawtooth, sine, pulse, and triangle. Okay, so let's hear the sawtooth. Okay, let's go to the sine wave. So what I'm doing for this, I'm literally going direct into my direct box. I'm not using the mixers right now. So all you're hearing is a direct output of the 901B. Let's do pulse wave. And low is for obviously LFO, low frequency. Now we can do the pulse width, which is on the 901A. Okay. Now, unfortunately, there's no pulse width modulation on a 901. Now, last is a triangle wave. Very nice triangle. So here we have the mixers as mentioned before. So here's the 4-channel mixer. So yeah, so these are my inputs of my 2 oscillators coming in. The output of the mixer is going into the reverb. Out from the reverb, we're going to be going into the filters, and then outputs of the filters are coming back into this mixer here. And then this output is now going to my direct box. So what we're going to do is let's move up now and let's check out the reverb section. So the reverb, I will say, this has been modded by Dean. So basically you get the direct signal in and this becomes a wet-dry mix. The dry signal is always present. Okay, so. Okay, you can hear that if I pull that out. All right, so now let's check out the fixed filter bank. This is the 907, as I mentioned. They did make a 914, which is in my 3C. So here's the low pass filter. Okay. There's the 250 band. So there's basically 0, and then you can turn up the 250 band, right? Let's do the 350. Let's hear the 500 band. Okay, the 700. And these do click on and off. 1000, 1K, 1400 or 1.4 kilohertz, the 2000, and then the 2.8. But you get the idea. So you can start blending now. And low pass it on. Okay, so that is how the fixed filter bank actually works. So we'll talk about the VCAs later. Let's go over to the filters. Everybody wants to hear filters when it comes to Moog, so let's do that. The infamous Moog filter. Okay. Let's add some resonance on there. Or regeneration. Okay, let's hear the great sweep. Now this is on frequency range number 1. Okay, let's go up to 2. Number 3. Okay. You can see on 3 the top end opens up a bit more. Now, just for fun, let's run some CV in. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add in some CV coming from my 700, so I have a... Okay? So again, we've talked about this before on the Polyfusion, for example. So we're just creating some rhythmic fun. So basically, that's just the CV, you know, playing with the filter cutoff. Okay? So we can listen to what the frequency range is doing. It's more, you can hear more what the different ranges are doing now. Let's go to 1. Okay. There is a drop the oscillator by 1 octave. Okay, guys, so now what I want to do is let's go through the high pass. Let's just check out the high pass. So we're just going to switch over to high pass now. Okay, we'll just take just the in and out for now. Just going to turn the reverb off. Okay, so when it's at full, obviously, nothing is passing, and then you're starting to let the high end in. Okay. Let's go to high range now. So that's the low range. There's a lot of empty space at the top there now. So if I go, let's go low range. So we can hear more in the low, right? A little more. Let's do this. Let's bring in reverb. Okay, let's bring over our CVs. Okay. Okay. Now we'll do the coupler now. Okay. So that's band reject. Bring in some reverb. Let's go band pass. So here's a interesting thing I stumbled across. So if I'm in using the coupler and I'm in bandpass mode, let me just unplug this for a second. Okay, so right now I have my sequencer. I'm just running a VCO into the input, output. You got it. Very simple. Now, if I put a 901, basically I'm taking an output of a 901, a sawtooth, and I'm running that into the bandwidth control, so control input of the bandpass. Watch what happens. It kind of almost creates like a delay sound, which is quite interesting. I just thought that was pretty cool. Now for fun, we can take that output, Again, that is coming directly from the Moog. That is not using a delay effect. I can turn the reverb off. And then I've set the speed of the LFO just so you get just the end of the shape of the sawtooth, and then it resets. Reverb up. Let's just listen to the noise source quickly. So again, this is the 903A. This is the random signal generator or noise. Here's your white noise. Okay. It's multipled out, and then pink noise. Okay. Basically, I'm just taking the output of the reverb, goes in, and then the output is here, and then that basically is acting like a low-pass filter. So you have 6 stages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? And then again, we have the same thing. We can try the high, there's a high pass as well. Okay, 6, 4. Then we have the 6, that's the high pass. And then we have an attenuator, which is self-explanatory. Basically from 0 to normal. So that's 10. So you would use it if your output, your oscillator is too loud going into a CV source or whatever. That's what you use this attenuator for. Okay, so that's the filter and attenuator. So what we have now, we have the 984. It's a 4-channel mixer. So basically it's input 1, 2, 3, 4, and then output 1, 2, 3, 4, corresponding to 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? And on each input, you have a bass and a treble, and then a master out. So what we can do is, so what I've done is I've taken the 901, I'm doing out the fixed levels of the 901. So I'm bringing my 4 inputs. This is my sine, sawtooth, triangle, and pulse. Okay, so we'll go into, so input number 1, output number 1. So again, output number 1 equals this one. This would be here, and vice versa. Okay, they call this the matrix mixer. So let's turn up input number 1, should be our sine wave. Okay, this is our bass. The little mixer, this is our little EQ. Crank the bass. There's our treble, which we won't hear until we get to the sawtooth. So this is now the sawtooth. Let's bring up the sawtooth. Okay, you can hear the sawtooth now. Let's just turn my master out just a little bit so you don't blow things out of it. Okay, you can hear that's our treble control. Sorry, there's a lot of dirty pots going on here. Okay, and then you have your triangle wave. Okay, we'll turn the sine off. That is our triangle, and 4 is our pulse. Okay. That's our pulse rate. So we can turn the bass down. Treble. Crank the treble up. Let's do some pulse with okay. So that basically is the 4-channel mixer, or the matrix mixer. Matrix by it's a 4 this way. Okay. Okay, so now we have the very rare 970, which is the metronome. So you can quickly see this is the tempo range. So this is 1 time, 2 times, and then half. So 50% of the 1 time. And here is our tempo. Again, like a metronome when you're a kid. So 60 BPMs. Let's take the output. We're putting the output just in the matrix mixer as we're here already. So there is this is approximate. This is not indented. So this is variable. So that's roughly 60 BPM, if this is calibrated correctly. Okay, and then we can go turn that up. It goes up to a total about 250. Okay. So we have 60, then we have 120 if we double it. Back to 60. And then we would obviously have 30, which is half. Okay? Very simple module, but that is how it works. All right. Do we dare try the mic pre? Let's try it. Check, check, check. Check, 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 check. All right, so let's not critique the microphone, guys. So literally, oh, you can hear that when you go close, you get feedback. All right, so basically I just have like an SM57 plugged in. I can use directly into 984. So here we go. That is a Bob Moog mic pre. This is our gain. Hello, 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 hello. Sounds pretty good, actually. Not bad. Very loud. But yeah, that is the input. Okay, you'll probably will not hear this ever again. Ever. Let me just turn my input down. Check, check, check. 1, 1, 1. Yes. So I don't know if anybody else is ever going to hear a Bob Moog mic pre made in 1967. This is a perf board, and there you go. So this is the microphone. You're hearing that plugged in, and then the output is just going to my matrix mixer. So there we go. Input channel. Hello, hello, hello. Check, check, check. That's it, guys. So that is the uber rare mic pre. I'm aware of no other. Well, that's not true. I'm sure somebody has one. Okay, let's continue our exploration, and let's get maybe just a simple patch going now. So I have my keyboard controller set up. This is the Moog 952. I think it's from like 1975. So the 952 is hooked up to the back of the cabinet into input number 1. Okay, and then input number 1 is coming out on the front of the cabinet. So we're going to take the 2 outputs for pitch, and we're going to put those into the 901As. So I'm using 2 901As. One then is panned left, one is set up right. So we're basically going to double everything. All right, now we're going to use 2 VCAs. So CV input 1 on the back has 2 trigger outs. These are Synth Jones cables. So I'm going to then plug those into envelope number 1 and envelope number 2. Okay, then I take my 2 envelopes. My 2 envelopes here, they are routed to my 2 902s. So this is my VCA number 1. This is VCA number 2. So this is my left channel. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to increase the initial volume. Okay? So you'll hear that on the left-hand side. This is my, okay? Okay? Now, if we want to add some release to that, okay? Okay. So T3, we'll call that release for you and I, okay? Let's turn that up more. For 4 seconds, so I have to turn up, because I could use an envelope for 2. Okay? So this is our release. Okay? Okay, guys? Now I can also add my attack, which is T1. So let's bring up T1 on my two envelopes. Sorry, some of my keys are not working so great on my keyboard, sorry. Again, this stuff is over 50 years old, so what do you expect? I rarely use a keyboard controller. I usually use external devices like expert sleepers if I want to use my Moog modular. So yes. Okay. Okay, so that's just a basic setup. I am just using two oscillators, so I'm just using two 901As, two 901Bs. Again, the two mixers are coming into the VCA. Output of the VCA is going to my direct box, which is a stereo direct box. I'm just using a Radial Pro D2, and then that goes right to my Burl mothership. Again, this is only two oscillators. So I've set up a very quick kind of like synthy bass patch. I'm using one VCA, so I have two oscillators going into one VCA. That one VCA is going to my direct box. So one envelope I have shaping the VCA, and then I have one envelope shaping the low pass filter. Okay, a very classic patch. That's on frequency range, so let's go back up to 2. Go frequency range 3. All I'm touching on the low pass is the frequency range. I'm just going to do a bit of the, I'll just do the frequency, cutoff frequency. So this here is our envelope. I'm going to put up to 3 for a second so you can really hear this now. So envelope number 2, I'm using that for my filter, okay? And that is controlling my filter cutoff. So you're trying to get in that trumpety kind of vibe to it, right? And this is my release. I'm going to go down frequency range down to 1. This is controlling the VCA, so okay. Add some resonance. Okay. This is controlling the filter. So I'm adding attack. See that? So you hear that, okay? 0 attack. Okay. And that's just Portamento, guys. Quite the sound. That is just, I'm just using Portamento there. All right, guys, I think you've had enough. This is the longest video I've made. This is more about how each module sounds, how the modules interact with each other. So again, thank you for that.